Welcome to the overview of the heart and soul of spiritual holistic coaching and healing with EFT course. I'm Phillip Mountrose with my wonderful wife and partner, Jane Mountrose. We're spiritual coaches, healers, and guides. And this is great to have people who are here live and watching the replay because it's going to bring you deeper into healing, deeper into your purpose, so you can make a real difference in your own life and then with other people's lives too. And we're going to share a powerful overview of our upcoming Heart and Soul of Spiritual Holistic Coaching course. And it's a way for you to go deeper into your service, into your role, into your goals, and what you really came here to be. And we're also going to do a live demonstration toward the end and show you how you can join the course too. So stay tuned toward the end for those detailed information for you. So it's a wonderful opportunity to go deeper into your journey with the tools, the resources, and the support that you would receive in a course like this. And this is what you'll learn, just to give you a sampling of what we teach. Uh, and we want to start with what someone who took our course said. And this is, we often get these kind of testimonials, these comments, because it's such a life-changing course, because many things don't move the needle. However, this course we found over the 20 plus years we've taught it and updated it really does. As Jen Peters, one of our graduates, said, I spent 2 years searching for these courses. I knew I was looking for something, but I wasn't sure what until I came across them. It's helped me enormously and in unexpected ways. It provides structure to an area that is traditionally quite ethereal and difficult to put into meaningful processes. I don't know of any other courses, even remotely like these, with the scope they have, and the program has literally ignited the light within. It's for anyone who is seeking a deeper understanding of who we really are and what we are here to do. These courses are the bridge into the bigger picture for those who have an awareness that there's more to life than meets the eye. And we base the program, and the reason it's so effective, it really moves the needle the way you can sustain higher states of awareness and having tools that you can use for clearing for the rest of your life with this transformational triad that we discovered or we downloaded, shall we say, that we teach. Jane?
Yeah, and we've been doing this for decades now. so this our program has evolved, and over time we recognize that there are three main components that are essential for anyone to be able to, for one thing, answer life's deepest questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And where am I going? And also to relate spiritually to the essence of who we are. And it relates to a threefold flame in our hearts. So if you are you showing? I guess you're not showing the diagram.
Yeah, I will show the diagram. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, you might want to show it while I'm just
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm describing it. Yeah. So there are three courses. The one that we're in right now that we're moving into is the one that relates to self-development, which is who am I? And that's the heart and soul of coaching and healing, where you discover your greatness, you discover what the spiritual journey is all about, and how you become more connected with that magnificent soul you are as you go through the stages. The other two, uh, purpose development, the one on the left is how you awaken to your true purpose course. And that one really is, why am I here? What is my purpose? So we go into that in depth in another course. The third one, which is on the right there, dream development, is where am I going? How do you realize your dream? And we have a manifest your dreams course. So we deal not just with a series of techniques, we're also connecting them with the bigger picture, so that as you're going through and understanding different pieces, you know how it fits into that larger picture of who we are, who we really are, and why we're here. So that for me has always been exciting. Like I never get tired of talking about the soul's journey, or understanding more deeply how we can really connect with that magnificent soul that we are. It's not we have a soul, we are that soul. So we're wanting to bring that, in other words, bring spirit into form and enjoy life to the fullest. That was the point at the bottom on the diagram. And we put them all next to each other because they all evolve together. You need all the pieces to be developing, to be able to develop fully and become your personal best. So there it is.
Yeah, that was
the big picture.
yeah. And so why take a training like spiritual coaching and healing with this heart and soul focus? Well, it's going to be an immense boost for your personal and spiritual growth so you can live more consistently from the soul's full potential. And some people like to start a practice or enhance your career, whatever the work you're doing. Excuse me. And you need both coaching and healing, which is a big part that's missing in many programs. Uh, the coaching and healing involves the coaching part, which is more action oriented. But if you just have action without the healing, you get stuck. And
or you can't move forward with the greatest ease because you're dragging stuff with you.
right. And if you're in the healing part, you have a lot of visionary awareness where you want to go, but you need to take action, the coaching part. And similarly, if you're in the coaching part, you have the motivation and the energy, but you need the healing part, which is the nurturing or compassion. Uh, so you need them both. Most programs only teach one or the other. We found it's essential to teach both. And also, if you're in the coaching, it's going to give you the strategies, how to mark your progress. And for the healing, you're going to have that way of connecting with people because you need to know how to connect with people. And both of those components, both coaching and healing, are really essential for going forward fully and effectively.
Right. Yeah.
And we have a matrix, an overview of how we teach the program. Jane, you want to talk about that? There's a very systematic way that you learn all this, so it's easier to learn and to index what you're learning and reference it.
Right. Right. And a lot of people are unsure how to realize their potential. It's like, and there are so many different things around, different courses and programs, and I've tried this and I've tried that and this and that, and it hasn't worked. We have what we call a heart and success roadmap, which we use as a matrix. And were you going to show that, Philip?
Yeah, here we go.
Because I'm not going to go into it. Obviously, but the idea of seeing that here is that you can see that we address primary parts of the spiritual growth and personal growth process in each course. And this matrix here shows all of the different things that people learn related to all of these areas, like uncovering your true identity and connecting with your dreams, understanding what they are, and actually starting to realize them, and then clearing, how you clear whatever is standing in your way and open. Then the sixth one, which I really love, is shifting into manifestation mode, because what you do is you free yourself to be able to live in ways that are much more satisfying and effective than ever before. And then you're ready to take action. So we have it all set up so people can understand the benefits of each part.
So we're going to go very briefly over the 12 weeks of this course. It's a 4 month course. It's part of the spiritual coaching and healing the whole program. There's actually 3 courses. Jane showed you the transformational triad, the purpose development, the self-development, and the manifestation development. And this is more the self-development and spiritual relationships. So we want to touch on briefly what we teach and why it's such a powerful program that will help you sustain higher states of awareness, clear emotional patterns, live from your soul's potential, and really follow your heart and be able to do that going forward for a lifetime. It'll save you a lot of waste of time and it'll give you a lot of healing, personal healing that can save a lot of money and time and stress as well. So in week 1, of the course, we have an overview of spiritual holistic coaching and healing. And we talk about what's called the high thymus state, coming from a place where you're more open and your heart is more open, and also your thymus gland. It's a gland between your heart and your throat, and how you can measure that as well. And we have a very powerful process that we developed called the heart focus process. And in it, wherever you are, if you wanted to say, I'm stuck or I have anxiety, but I don't know how, you could do this heart focus process. And we demo all the processes in class, and you get to practice them. And you'll find out exactly where you're stuck in your heart. And people see metaphorically things like their heart has an arrow in it, or a dark spot, or there's feelings of heaviness and so forth. And that's a stepping off point in this process. And we go very specifically in how to clear that. It's a wonderful process to learn.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
And then week two, and then we go into week two.
Right. And in week 2, we we go into what we call the 7 spiritual activations, which you could also call 7 stages of this on the spiritual path, which we relate directly to the energy field and the chakra system. They map out the spiritual journey and help people to understand, like if you're stuck and people say, well, I've been stuck, I don't know what to do. Each stage actually has a barrier that you need to break through to move forward toward the next stage. And if you understand what that barrier is, then it's much easier to address it. If you don't know what it is, you might just be looking all over the place. This is also a really wonderful way to understand other people, because we wonder, well, why is this person this way? Or why, what's happening there? And when we understand those stages, it's much easier to relate as a coach, a healer, and a friend to where other people are coming from, because people are living in different realities. I think we sense that and we wonder, how is that? How can that be possible? Well, one of the reasons, there are different reasons, but one of the primary reasons is because we're in different stages of our development, and we tend to come together with other people who are in similar places
Right. And
spiritually.
yes. And that takes us to the week 3, where we go into what we call spiritual kinesiology, a healing from the soul process that we developed years ago that's very effective. We use that in a lot of holistic EFT tapping too in this. But
Right, it's part of it, yeah.
and you'll learn how to go very deep in using these in your everyday life for yourself, first of all, and then helping other people. So we also do muscle testing, kinesiology, different ways to muscle test, which can really help your intuition and figure out what you need to do and where you need to go. And we talk about the 4 freedoms, so you can become freer with your abundance, freer with your time, uh, freer with your resources, uh, freer where you are in your life, and have more freedom. And muscle testing can show you how to do that. We piece that together. It's a very practical way of learning. And that takes us into week 4
Right,
of the class.
right. And spiritually, if you look at those stages I referred to without describing all of them, the heart of the journey, as you might imagine from everything we were saying too, is we view that to be the heart. The heart is actually, it's interesting. It's at the center of our being. It also is the place where the creator resides in us. And we are creators because we have the creator within. So this one, we talk about building confidence. We also talk about a technique, a really important technique called anchoring, which is like when you grasp something. I think we've all had that experience where it's like, wow, that was the most amazing thing I ever understood, and I'll never forget it. And then 10 hours later or something, what was that again?
Mhm.
Well, what we want to do when we have those kind of realizations, or that come from healing a lot of times, is to anchor them into our being so that we can remember them, so that we can actually use them in our lives. So that's really important. And the reframing and anchoring process, which is part of spiritual kinesiology, it's a healing process that you could say it would be equal to using EFT. They just are 2 different approaches to the same thing. what it does is it just gives you more options. We call it reframing and anchoring.
And that takes us to week 5, where we go more into muscle testing. And it's fascinating what you can discover with muscle testing. One of the people was helping, one of the checklists, we have these very powerful checklists. See if I can show you that checklist. That's called the basic checklist. And with muscle testing, you check which areas are weak, and it's unconscious. It may be conscious or unconscious. A lot of times we're not aware of things that weaken us. We just know we're weak in some area, or sometimes we're not even aware what's throwing us off. And what the person was weak in was what was his office. When we talked about where he worked, his muscle test went weak. And he first of all said, well, I really enjoy working in my office. It's a nice office. But as we got into it, he actually then realized that he's gay, and he didn't want to tell people that he was gay at his office. And that's why it showed up as weakness. So it is able to pinpoint areas that are affecting us, sometimes unconsciously. Sometimes we are aware of it.
Right.
And there's these different checklists we have that are very powerful. I showed you one, the basic checklist, and another one called the current checklist.
Current lesson checklist.
Current lesson checking what you need to learn now in your current situation.
Right.
Jane?
Yeah. And just to comment on that, another thing where people say they feel stuck, and this was something that really drew me to developing, when we decided to develop this system, which it's really a whole system, spiritual kinesiology, is how do we find out what's happening when someone has no idea what it is? I mean, it's easy enough when you say, well, I'm afraid of spiders, but it might be, well, I can't express myself and I don't know what the problem is. I have no idea what it is. And then you need to look deeper. And this is a way of getting, kind of like Phillip was saying, you can sometimes pinpoint exactly what's happening, even though there was no awareness at all of it before. But when you identify it, then it's like, oh, I get it now. It's so obvious. It's like, you can't see the forest through the trees or something. Anyhow, moving on to week 6, what we're doing now at this stage of the program is we're going deeper into healing. So we discuss healing and demonstrate healing processes all the way through. This is where we get into one of also a coaching wheel we call the Heart of Success wheel, and the illumination process, which goes deep into healing 7 levels. If you know Reiki or work with the energy field, going through the layers of the energy field and finding out what's happening in each one. It's very illuminating and people love it. It also seems to be, it has a way of helping people to experience really deep healings because you understand things, you understand the thoughts, the emotions, the images that are associated with it, how it makes you feel about yourself. It's really deep and wonderful. I haven't seen anything like it anywhere else.
Yeah. So the
We
question
use
is,
it all the time.
would you like to know, most people are aware if they're emotionally off, if they're anxious, if they're worried, if they're sad, frustrated, but most people don't know what's underlying it. Would you like to know why it is? Because once you know what is underlying it, you can actually heal it. You can address it directly. And that's why these techniques like spiritual kinesiology and holistic EFT are so effective. One time, one of the ladies I was helping, she had a sore wrist. This can actually help you with physical healing as well. These levels of healing that Jane mentioned, the process that you learned, the illumination process, 7 levels of healing. And her physical condition was a sore wrist. And emotionally underneath that was a feelings of anxiety. She wasn't sure. And as the layers peeled away, she was worried on a beliefless level that she couldn't find a job. She needed to go back to the workforce. And that was the belief, like, I can't find a job. And that on the judgment on a deeper identity heart level, she felt like she wasn't good enough. And once we were identifying that, we could, with holistic EFT tapping or the reframing and anchoring with the soul, we were able to help her, and even her wrist felt much better afterwards. And it can happen sometimes very quickly. It almost seems like magic, but it's very specific and proven, and it works exceedingly well. It's really great to be able to know that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the thing with these techniques is once you know them, then you have them to use for the rest rest of your life. And that's what's really powerful about it.
Right. And then we go into in week 7, what are called the polarities. These are things that I'm sure you've heard of, like that we have masculine and feminine and spiritual and earthly, these different dynamics that are unconsciously playing themselves out. And once you become clear on them and what they are and how to shift or balance them, it can make a big difference. One lady who was taking her course was wondering how she was going to start her business, looking at her masculine, looking at her feminine part. She said, like, I'm waiting for the masculine to take action. And then the masculine was sort of missing in action. He didn't want to do anything. So sometimes they're both weak, both parts. And
Right.
once she became aware of that, she became much more integrated and actually developed a very successful business after our course. We also
Mm-hmm.
go into understanding body language and integrate. Yeah, that's what I was sort of talking. There's sort of a dialogue between the parts. It's called an integration meeting. So, Jane, did you want to go into week 8 or did you have something else there?
I'm ready for a week egg.
And week 8 out of 12, it's, as I said,
Right.
it's a 4-month course. It's weekly, and there's a class and a practice each week, so you can really learn and integrate these techniques.
Right. At this in this part of the program, we're going into relationships, as you can see, creating healthy relationships and dealing with codependence. This is an issue that comes up really. We relate it to the fifth stage, which is your expression. And codependence has a lot to do with not being able to express who you really are, that you feel trapped in being someone who you're not. So dealing with that and what we call group archetypes, which is how we relate to other people, is a very important part of the journey too. And getting to that place rather than being codependent or being standoffish and just not dealing with it, being in a place where we can be interdependent, where we can have our own sovereignty, where we can be ourselves, and also have the wonderful connections with other people that are actually essential, I think, on the path to have companions on the journey.
And that takes us to week 9, which is a very important part of the journey, which is neutralizing conflicts and forgiveness. First,
Right.
on neutralizing conflicts. Um, well, we all have conflicts. What do we do with them? And they have a very specific process that's very effective. And it's based on the science of the brain and the heart, the neuroscience and the heart. So if you breathe now into your heart, just breathing into your heart, as you breathe into your heart, that starts to open your heart. And it also opens regions in your brain that are help you focus, help you have attention. And as you start to breathe in more loving energy in your heart, that starts to shift your heart and your brain waves too. And so when you're using that based on the science, it can make a big difference in neutralizing conflicts. And then if you have a process, which we teach, the neutralizing conflicts, it can make a big difference in dealing with your everyday life. And that goes into forgiveness. And again, being in a heart-centered place for forgiveness. And you need to be in the right place, and it needs to be the right time and conditions to forgive. And we talk about that. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
key part of the journey as well.
Right. Yeah. For ourselves.
Yes, we need to forgive ourselves a lot of times.
Right. Well, and just we forgive others for ourselves too. I think that's an important part of it. Understanding that forgiveness doesn't mean that you agree with someone, it means that you're going to let it go. And then what that does is it creates that spaciousness again to just to be yourself rather than holding on to um, just holding on to what we call, I forget what you call, no, I can't think of the word.
Grievances, grudges,
Yeah, grudges, holding grudges against
accounts.
people. Yeah, keeping accounts like, well,
Mm.
I've been angry with him for 10 years or something. Well, but what does that do to you? It's just it's all connected.
Yeah. And
And that takes us
it's how to get from that awareness that it's not useful. You might be aware that to actually how to do it, how to shift it.
right, 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 and what that the benefits of doing that.
And week
So
10 out of 12.
Yeah, we're moving into, so what we're doing is we're broadening the picture now. You might sense that. And so we talk now about something we call societal archetypes, which is our relationships. And this is an interesting one right now to uh, the institutions of society. Like, well, like we're dealing now just in an immediate thing right now with police, you know, how people relate to the police, how you relate to government. It can be how you relate to educational systems, like that big picture, how you relate to the IRS. I think one client I worked with years ago, he kept having arguments with the IRS, and it was like the IRS was this bully, big bully, and as long as he was angry with the IRS, he was attracting to him more problems with the IRS. And so what we did then is we dealt with his anger and brought that down. And in most cases, with something like that, if you have a you know kind of uh, you've been holding a grudge maybe with one of the systems of society, like the educational system doesn't support me or whatever it is, you can get a different perspective on it. And the way that we look at it, actually, in our work on a broader scale, say, well, looking at the educational system for an example, that we're part of changing it. We have actually university degree programs too, and just the way that we teach um, and share and all of those things are part of what we view as what we want to see in the educational system.
Mm-hmm.
So my opinion is we don't have to like blow everything up and start all over. We can shift it one person at a time
Right.
by presenting another alternative
Right.
that is maybe a paradigm shift in whatever that institution is. So it's very interesting, and these societal archetypes do influence people whether they're aware that they do or not. You know, you're looking at the big picture and you think, well, that doesn't really phase me in my daily life, but it does. Well, say money. If you have issues around money, those
Right.
are influencing a person every day.
And it takes
So
us from what we call the competitive to the creative plane. That was taken from Wallace Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich. So a way of
right,
functioning more in a collaborative way, in a more creative way, in a practical way. So that's very helpful to know how to do that and be aware of that as well.
right. Well, and viewing ourselves as creators again,
Yes.
if we couldn't change something, if we didn't have that ability as creators, we would be powerless. But we know that we can change things. We just have limits on it, and we want to break through those limits
Mm-hmm.
and realize that we're stronger creators than we realize that we are.
So you learn how to break through those limits.
Right.
Otherwise, you just keep recycling around, and it may be kind of frustrating after a while because you don't sort of have the specific keys and tools to move forward. But that's what we
Mm-hmm.
provide here.
Right. Yeah.
And week 11, we have something analog marking, and that's an NLP, neuro linguistic programming term. What it means is being aware of nonverbal language, the tone of the way you're talking. So I could be saying, this person is really
Mm-hmm.
a great person. You will really like him. You know, I might be saying the right words, but my tone doesn't match that. So your tone, your body posture, your nonverbal language, and the words, the metaphors, what's behind the words. So we talk about that, which you can learn a lot about yourself and another person very quickly, even not only for coaching and healing, but just your regular social relationships and how to understand what a person's actually saying to you, the subtext, what's behind the words, what's in the body language. And we also talk about if you want to build a practice, how to do that. We have a marketing library that comes with the course too to show you how to do that, and we can give you individual help on that.
Right.
And that takes us to week 11,
Week 12.
week 12, excuse me.
Right.
My math went off there, offline
Right.
there.
Right. Yeah. And we're putting all the pieces together now. So organizing sessions, like how do you conduct a session with all of these things that we've been learning, um, and how you can create action plans for self-actualization and for helping other people. Um, so this is kind of the final
Yeah.
put everything together class.
Right. Right. And that's the 12 weeks in a snapshot. We know we went through it very quickly, but that's why we have a 4-month course to give you the time to really integrate this profound material. And that's why it really is sustainable. It's something you learn. You become a different person afterwards.
Right.
You
Yeah.
become more of who you truly are. You integrate your talents. You remove a lot of your weaknesses. You see the world from a much bigger, more soulful, aligned perspective and what you're here to do.
Yeah. Can I tell a little story?
Yeah, go ahead, Jane.
Yeah. Um, one of the people who took our program many years ago, as I mentioned, we've been teaching this quite a while. And it was after, it may be 10 years after she had taken the course. We were talking one time and she said, um, I have such a different life now than I had before I took your program. And when I was considering taking it, I asked a few of my friends if they wanted to join me and take it too. And none of them did. And now I look at them and they're still in the same stuck place they were 10 years ago. And I have a whole new life. So and I mean, obviously there are no guarantees, but that's what most people experience from what I know. This is what they
Right.
tell us. And I thought that was such a good example because I think we all see that in people. Like they're the same stuck person they were when we saw them 5 years ago or something. And that's
Yeah.
not what we want for ourselves or for other people.
Yeah. And you want to be compassionate toward them and still loving, of course, but this is an opportunity to move forward for the right person who's feeling it in your heart. As we were breathing into the heart a few minutes ago, if you feel like this is an opportunity, this is your next step, and it's sometimes it's a little take a little leap of faith because where there's always sometimes some resistance in doing something new.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it
that's
is
how
a
you go
leap of
forward.
faith. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how you go forward. That's how we got to be where we are and living our life because we did a lot of leaps of faith. You don't really know how it's going to work. You just follow that feeling and trust and do it in a grounded way, in a
Right.
practical way. Yeah.
Right.
And we'll show you why people shift here in a moment and do a little demonstration. Jane's going to do a demonstration of holistic EFT like we
Right.
teach in our course. Jane?
Yeah. So I'm fortunate to have Babs here, who has actually taken the program too, um, and she's volunteered to share one of her issues that she's addressing right now, and we're going to do it together with EFT.
Super.
So, Babs, you want to describe what
Yes.
you're experiencing?
Sure. I'll just go into that. The issue that we're going to talk about, I think, was like my mom. She's older. She's quite old. She's in her almost. She's 92, so she's quite old. So there's that piece of dealing with the age piece, but we've talked. She's still fairly with it most days, and we've talked multiple times about her not calling me like early in the morning, but she gets up like at 5 a.m. and does her thing, and um, but she'll call me if it's. I told her if it's an emergency, please call me like at 7 or something like that. Otherwise, just wait until about 8 or 9 or whatever. But she
Mm-hmm.
still consistently calls me at 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I just get frustrated, and then I get frustrated with myself because I'm frustrated with this old woman.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that sense of like just that sense of frustration of like, why can't she respect the boundary that I have, and then the frustration of being upset with myself for being upset with her because she's
Right.
old. Maybe because she's
Yeah.
old. Why am I
Yeah.
still upset?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With her. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious what just um just out of curiosity, that frustration, does that remind you of anything that you experienced with her when you were a child?
Mm.
It may not. I just
I'm sure it does because that we did not have the world's best relationship. I worked really hard on dealing with a lot of the resentments through a variety of different things, also including the course I did with you all. Um, so I'm sure like it's just her not listening to what any it's her always like her I guess this is it. It's like her needs supersede everybody else's
Hmm.
needs. You know, like if she needs to talk to me, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, she's gonna call me anyway. So like growing up, it's kind of like always making sure that mama's happy, like always like making sure
Mm-hmm.
that she gets taken care of regardless of how it affects other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be how it relates. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to get to that if you can, because you were
Yeah.
saying, it seems like a small thing in a way. And then you get
Yeah.
frustrated because you're frustrated. But it's not just that. It's what happened when you were a child.
Yeah.
When you were a child, then her role was to care for you.
Right.
You felt that you had to make sure she was okay,
Yeah. Always.
and
Yeah.
you didn't know how to do that probably. I mean,
No.
I felt the same way sometimes in my childhood too.
Yeah.
So that frustration is not, it's probably something that has been lingering all this time and is being exposed because of this one thing that is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it helps if you can look at it that way,
Yeah.
and just when you think of that image of making sure mom's happy. How old were you when you realized that you really had to do that for self-preservation, possibly?
The biggest memory, I mean, that I that probably still is maybe has some pieces that are lingering. Like I think I was 8 years old. I remember
Right.
we're moving from Connecticut to Colorado, and my mom was just super distraught. I was distraught, but I had to comfort her instead of being comforted.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So just again connecting with that 8-year-old,
Mm,
would
mm,
you say her main emotion was frustration, or what would you say about that?
mm. I don't think at the 8 years old, I think there was some anger, but there was also like really confusion. Like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to, like, I'm just little. How am I supposed
Right.
Hmm.
to, yeah,
Right.
that was
Yeah,
mainly
understandably.
that. Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of an unknown or
So
just not able, just completely unable to change the situation. So maybe
right.
helplessness.
Yeah, helplessness. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I remember years ago, I can't remember where the song came from. It was in the 60s. Helpless, that song. Helpless, 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 helpless. I really liked that
Yeah.
song at the time. Do you
I'll
remember
have
that
to
one,
look it
Philip?
up. I don't know it. I'll have to look
It
it up.
was a big
Probably good
song
you
at the
don't know it.
time. Right? You don't need to be singing that one.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So how
Any
strong
more
is
than
that
the
how strong is that feeling of helplessness when you connect with that for that
Oh,
8-year old?
as a 8-year-old, um, gosh, as a little kid, that feeling was like 9, 10. That was a big like, and I mean, it went on. So even now, like if I think about it, because I still have that feeling with her sometimes. Um, yeah, still like 7, 8, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, how strong is the frustration when you think about it
For the 8 or currently?
right now?
Okay.
Just to
Oh, yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
because this is where we started, just
Yeah.
to kind of bring it around.
Um,
And it is the most important thing is what you experience now, but
yeah.
understanding where it came from also is important.
Yeah. So the frustration now, it's between a 7 and an 8 when that phone rings or when I look at my thing and it's like, I'm like,
Oh, there she is again.
Uh-oh.
yeah, yeah. So it's probably a 7 or an 8. Oh, I feel embarrassed to even admit it because she's so old and yeah, but
Right, but if you
it is what
think
it is.
it's that child in you that
Yeah.
is still there,
Yeah.
then that child really didn't know what to do. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And these kinds of things do come up.
Mhm.
I think one of the really interesting things about the unconscious is it is unconscious.
Yeah.
We don't know that even that stuff is there necessarily
Yeah.
because we're not making all the connections.
Yeah, I hadn't put those together until
Right,
I hadn't
right.
put those
But it
together.
makes sense, you know,
Yeah, totally makes sense. Totally makes
because
sense.
you might say, well, this isn't that big a thing.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it is for
Yeah.
that 8-year-old who
Yeah.
was looking for love and care and support,
Yes. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So
Totally makes sense.
so do you feel like, oh, I do like to ask, where do you feel that in your body, that helplessness and frustration and confusion and all that stuff?
I think like in my heart and in my throat. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the words and then my heart hurts. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it feels tight in my throat.
How tight is your heart?
So thinking of like when the phone rings, that's like at about maybe like a 6, 7,
Mm-hmm.
and the throat is probably about the same. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And it's interesting because knowing you're a very loving person too. I think you're just a very heart-centered person, and to
Hmm.
feel that contraction, it's like,
Pleasant.
it hurts you. It hurts you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so do you feel like you're ready to do some
Sure.
EFT?
Yes. Sure.
And now with the EFT, we have options of saying different phrases for the affirmation.
Hmm.
Um, it could be, even though I have this, and you could even use different ones if you're doing 3. I have this helplessness and frustration, or whatever you want to say.
Hmm.
I still can love myself, or it could be something along those lines, or I know this can change, or I can open to the fields of pure potential where anything is possible, which is one of our favorites right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, or another one, whatever you want. Do you have anything you'd like to particularly focus on?
I think I like the I can love myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I might want to add I can love myself and others. I don't know if that
You
seems
can you can say whatever feels right in your heart, and that's the point. Is just to be able to, and you can say different things. We'll say 3,
okay.
and I'll just let you make it up as you go along.
Okay.
So often what people do is this, but another thing you can do is just hold your hands across your heart
Mm-hmm.
while you do it. So I'll leave it up to you which one you
I'm
want
gonna
to do.
karate chop.
Okay. Okay. So even though I have this, and you can go from there, even though I have this.
Even though I have this, what comes to mind is yuck. I don't know if that's okay.
That's fine. You know what it is.
Okay. Even though I have this yuck. Do you want me to continue on?
Yeah. Yeah. Just, I want you to say what comes from
Okay,
you
okay.
rather
Okay,
than me
beautiful.
prompting it, because
Yes,
you
okay.
had some. I can
Yeah,
love
even
myself and
though,
others, I think you were
yeah,
saying.
even though I have this, well, even though I have this anger, I can love myself and others.
Hmm.
Even though I have this anger, I can love myself and others. And then, even though I have this anger, I can love myself and others.
Okay. Wonderful. And our approach is for tapping is minimal. So you could say just tap, or you can just tap and say anger, or you
Or
can tap and say release. So whatever you want. We'll just start on the head.
Okay.
And for people, if you don't know EFT, you just tap with a couple fingers right on the top of your head 5 or 10 times. Nice breathing. Then inside of the eyebrow, this anger.
Anger.
Side of the eye, right around the bone there.
Anger.
And letting yourself breathe as you go below the eye. And below the nose, chin, collarbone, side of the body, nice hug. And then we end with what we call reset. So tapping across the top of your head for one breath, and then another nice breath, just tapping with your full hand across the heart area. And this is integrating the head and heart, essentially. And then taking a nice breath and letting me know what you notice now.
I definitely feel lighter. I feel less judgments, less self-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, feel more prepared when the next phone call comes.
Mm-hmm.
Tap into that statement. I can love myself and others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you focus on the helplessness and the frustration, which both were around a 7 or an 8, what do you notice now?
Yeah, I guess they're like at a 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, those were the things you focused on, but you mentioned anger. That was the one.
Oh, I know.
So how does that feel? We didn't measure it before, but if you focus on anger, how does that feel?
Yeah, I think that frustration is my soft way of saying anger.
Right.
Mhm.
And that, yeah, then
Yeah,
that
that's-
often is true that we don't want to say anger,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that is that frustration, that anger.
Is
I,
the same thing.
I yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's more that. Yeah.
Well, and just because this involves your inner child, a lot of times all they need is love.
Yeah.
So, and would you like to imagine hugging your child or sending her love? Whatever feels right to you, just embracing her and letting her know that she has resources now that she didn't have before, and you do love her.
Yeah.
Let me know when that feels complete.
Yeah, that feels good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I can
So,
pick
doing that, how strong is the helplessness and frustration now?
I have to shift back to my adult self here. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels more resolved. That feels more like a 1, a 0, or a 1.
Mm-hmm.
I can just picture my adult self walking with my younger self,
Mm-hmm.
just taking
Right.
away from that situation where she was overwhelmed and yeah.
Wonderful. And I think that's what we like to see at the end. We could have done another round if we needed to. It doesn't appear that we do. But we want to see what's different is now she has that connection with you. She knows that she is loved and that someone is watching out for her, which apparently she didn't have. She didn't have that healthy kind of mother looking out for her relationship,
Yes. Yeah.
feeling like she had to do it for herself. And I think it's another step further, like you have to make the parent happy.
Yeah, that was
And I think a lot of people know what that means, what that is, that had that experience.
yeah.
Yeah. So anything else when you focus on your heart, what do you see happening when you see her calling at 7 o'clock in the morning now?
Think I'm just gonna connect. What I feel like is I'm just take a moment because it always rings.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take a moment. I'll connect. And just imagine walking with my smaller self to our sacred safe space,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe answering the phone from that spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And you don't have to answer it.
yes, I don't have
One
to.
thing you could do is tell her if she calls at 7, you won't answer. So why does she can call back at 8 and see what happens? Because if you don't answer it, then
Yeah, I've done that at times.
although I guess it's it's a challenge if you also want her to be able to let you know if something really is happening. But yeah, but it seems like you have a strategy, and that's
Yeah.
another part of it is how you add the coaching at the end, so you have a strategy.
Yes.
It's not just, well, it's gone, we're okay, which is
Yeah.
a lot of times I think how EFT is. Well, it's gone, you know, and now I'm done. But there's more to it than that. You know,
Mhm.
making
And
that connection with
I may do a
child.
quick round while the phone is ringing.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
like one
Right.
round.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, especially for that connection, because I think that that's as that goes forward, I think that that will help in that relationship. And I think that
Yeah.
that just is a beautiful example, like, because I took the courses from you guys, and just the healing and the personal healing you get, but also the tools and the techniques you get to be able to carry it on to other people has been one of the most invaluable things I got from the course, and just
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
people that we get to meet in the course, and the wisdom that you, Jane, and Philip have is incredible.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, well, we obviously enjoy you also.
Yeah.
And
Thanks. Thanks,
appreciate
Bab.
you coming and volunteering.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was great. That was a wonderful demonstration of both the coaching and healing. You can see if you just started off trying to help Babs with strategies and tactics and things, which some of which was done at the end, that would fall short. And then if
Yeah,
you
because
just,
the child would still be out there in the wilderness.
yeah, and which is often the case with traditional coaching, even very good coaching is missing
Right.
this healing.
Yeah.
And you need specific tools to know the do's and the don'ts, like we just shared with holistic EFT. We just gave you kind of a sampling and introduction to it, and how to go deeper, and how to use which part of it or which version of holistic EFT, or additional modalities to add on to, like spiritual kinesiology, to make it very effective.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at the bigger picture, when we have things like that happening, that's taking energy away from us being able to be fully ourselves in the moment. And I know that's an important thing to you, Babs, particularly. That we as we heal, we bring more of these pieces of ourselves that have been traumatized or whatever has happened to them in the past. We bring those pieces back. And that's how we feel more present in the moment. At least that's
Right.
my experience, is by bringing the pieces back, and of course then doing it.
Right.
Just practicing being in the moment also.
Yeah, and it takes some time to really shift this into something that's part of your being. That's why it's a 4-month course, part of actually a three-course, 12-month program you could take, but you could take 1, 2, or 3 courses, and the next
Right.
one coming up soon on June 17th. Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
really change your being, and change that activation level that Jane talked about, the spiritual stages, that you can actually make progress even within the course for a whole lifetime's worth of progress.
yeah. Well, another part of the program also is that you work with other people, and like Babs mentioned, well, gee, I never made that connection. Working with someone else, it gives you different perspectives on things. And
Right.
we encourage our students also to work with each other, because then they develop relationships and have opportunities to heal. Because when you put people together, it is deeper too. A
Right.
lot of times we can do a lot of things on our own, but when we have 2 or more people, that whole idea, it does really, it adds to adds to the power
Mhm.
that's available.
Yeah, and that's why people sometimes have lifetime breakthroughs. Even in one of the practice labs, I'm thinking of a lady who took our course in the last round, and she had been feeling guilt and shame of having her child out of wedlock 4 decades ago. But after the
Right.
process in the lab, which was just a little longer, a little more detailed than Bab's one, she felt free of that. She felt like she felt good about herself rather than ashamed about herself.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yet she carried the guilt for decades, and now
Yeah.
she
4
released it.
decades, you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
So
not uncommon. People carry things for their whole lives. And I think if Babs also would probably, if she looked at her mother, where she came from, she was missing something too.
mhm.
And that's how it seems that those things kind of continue on. way Babs was healing for the generations before her
Jane, you might
too.
have frozen there. Yeah. Yeah, it's healing intergenerations before. Yeah, right.
Am
You're
I
back.
back? Did you get that?
I'm not
That she might be
yeah,
healing, if she's healing for her whole ancestry. In fact, you could send the love back. Just imagine sending the love back through that ancestry.
right. And just going a little further to complete the description of the course here as we're coming to a close, for those people who are interested in how to market a business, a practice, or add marketing tools and skills, we have the 20 plus hours of recordings, marketing handouts and templates, and we can give you individual help if you're interested in developing or advancing a business that you have. Plus, there are, just as we've mentioned, just to summarize, so many benefits of taking a heart-centered course, because think of it, if you could clear things that you've had for a lifetime in a few months, what would that be worth for you? Where you are today, a few months from now, you're going to be in a completely different place with a lot more presence, a lot more soul alignment, a lot more freedom and potential. So
Right.
the benefits of the course is you're going to have a more fulfilling life. You're going to have a
Sounds
lot.
good.
People have healed all kinds of things in the course: fibromyalgia, allergies, back issues, a lot of physical things I'm saying, and plus all the emotional, psychological things. You might want to enhance your current work or start a new business. You're going to really accelerate your spiritual development. And we've been talking about these tested tools, some of which we developed on our own over the years. This 20 plus years we've been updating, developing this program. Holistic and angelic EFT, you'll learn that, spiritual kinesiology, hypnotherapy, NLP, and more. And as Jane was mentioned, there's nothing like having a loving, supportive community just for your quality of life. And some people take the whole program more than once just to stay part of the spiritual community and integrate and go deeper with it.
Right.
So why do people join? Just to sort of summarize that, you will receive tremendous, deep personal and spiritual growth. You'll expand a career or start a career, and you'll have these tools both professionally and personally for a lifetime. So what is your next step? What do you do now? Well, you can find out more on our description page, which the shortened URL there is tinyurl.com/HOL coach, or you might be reading this on the description page. tinyurl.com/HOL coach is the shortened URL. And you want to set up a free planning session with us to see how this program would fit it. If you're feeling a calling for it, follow that up. There's a way to contact us on the description course page, or just go to tinyurl.com/plan-free-session, that tinyurl.com/plan-free-session, or call us at 805-934-1238 at our office, Awakenings Institute, our nonprofit organization. And ask about personalized payment plans. We can work with you on that too to figure out the right payment plan so it's workable for you. Jane, did you want to mention something else as we're getting close to closing here?
Well, I wonder if Babs would want to
Yeah,
comment.
Babs, why don't you share, because you took the program, what it was like for you?
Yeah, I took the year-long program and it was amazing. Just the people I got to meet. I think I shared a little bit already, but just getting to know Jane and Philip and you guys, your integrity, your expertise, and your wisdom and your that for me was amazing. And then just especially meeting other people, knowing that you're part of a community, and really honestly the practice that you get to do, like you practice every week, working on
Yeah.
these tools and these techniques, and especially if you're looking into doing it professionally or augmenting, what you're currently doing. It was invaluable, those tools and those practice sessions. And even personally, I mean, there was such growth throughout that whole year-long process. But each individual 12-week session kind of has its own unique flavor and just special part that just kind of, yeah,
Yeah, they're all different, which is
they're all
interesting.
different. They all
They're
kind of
very
have a
different.
little,
Yeah,
they all have a little
they are
different, but
connected, but they're very different. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and it's life changing. So yeah, it was amazing. So
Yes. And it's
yeah,
great being with people like you, Babs. And
yeah,
that's great to be with people in a heart-centered community like Babs and other people like that. It may be very
right.
hard to find. And by the way,
It
all the
is
it is hard to find.
actually.
Yeah. And the people are from all around the world, and you'll develop relationships with them if you want. And sometimes very close, long-term relationships occur in this course. And all the classes are recorded. So if you can't make one, they're on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're all recorded so you can review them or
Right.
if you miss any of them.
Yep.
So in closing here, um, the Spiritual Holistic Coaching and Healing with EFT Certification Program, the next course starts June 17th. And it's where you're going to receive this in-depth training, live guidance from Jane and myself, the supportive community to help you step deeper into your purpose, what your soul is here to do on your healing journey, whether it's to work individually with people, working with groups, and certainly working with your own spiritual journey and deepening that greatly. And if this calls to you, we'd love to have you join us. You're actually needed to step up in this pivotal time, and you'll learn a lot of resources and tools to help you go forward. The world needs more heart-centered people like you.
Right.
Yes. So we look forward to
Love is
being,
the solution.
love is still the solution. So we look forward to being with you and in one way or another in this program, or maybe one of our other courses or programs or on our newsletter